So thanks for joining us. We have less than 2 weeks to go to Interreg Knowledge Fair, but we are in a very good place. We have the session leads with us today. We also have 230 participants registered from around 70 programs. We have 30 member states and non-member states also with us in Dubrovnik, whom we will welcome. In addition, we are very happy to have colleagues from European Commission, DG Regio, joining us in Dubrovnik, both from D1 unit and D2, but more really in when we come to the session introductions and when we go through all of the questions you have. Today, we really focus only on technical issues. We introduced the sessions, we introduced the logistic, but we are not going too much into the content and not really providing more details on the post-27 issues. That will come in Dubrovnik. Having said that, I think, Kevin, we are ready to start. We are ready to welcome everyone, and I give the floor to you really to walk us through what to expect.
Thanks, Ilse. The slide's just being slow on my screen. I don't know if everyone else has the same experience, but we are starting with just a quick welcome to Dubrovnik for those that are a little bit slower than others in terms of where are we going, where am I staying, and how do I get from A to B. And a just quick overview of the location, which is the next slide. We are in the Royal Hotel and Resort, which you can see on the map here with the dropped pin on the Royal Hotel Ariston. This is one of 5 hotels in the complex. So we're staying in a large complex with 2 conference centres, which we'll come on to when we get into more detail. There's a couple of kind of key bits of logistical information, which is actually this area is quite touristic. So there are a number of hotels in the areas which offer their own restaurants. There's 1 or 2 independent restaurants as well, and we'll come on to how you can find out more about those as well at the end of the webinar. And the first question I think you'll be facing is how do you get from the airport to the hotel, or whether your hotel is staying with us in the Royal Hotels and Resort or in the Old Town or somewhere else. And on the next slide, I've got just a quick summary of your 3 logistical options. It's about half an hour from the airport to the Old Town and about another 20 minutes on to the Royal Hotel Resort. The suggestion is really, if you're arriving in a group, to use a shuttle service. These are cheaper if you're sharing than a taxi, but there are local bus options both from the airport to the Old Town and then from the Old Town on to the hotels. The team, which we'll introduce in a second, is one way you can try and find other people arriving at the same time. We've just done it internally and had a little bit of a transfer of, can you pick up this person as well as part of your grouping? And then from the hotel to the Old Town, sorry, can you go back 1 second? Because this is a bit of the geography I skipped over. The Old Town, you can see at the bottom of the map with the historic monument there. From the hotel where we're having as our venue, the Royal Hotel and Resort, to the Old Town, it's either a 1-hour walk, if you don't mind some hills, or it's about 20 minutes in a local bus or on in a taxi. When you're in Dubrovnik, if you want to leave the hotel and resort, that is going to be one of your main ways of doing so, is to try and get into the Old Town area, which is where there are more things to eat. There's a nice path that leads between the 2, and that is one place you can go to find something to eat along that path. Then on the next slide now, I come back to the alternatives to walking. There are plenty of local taxi providers. We anecdotally, this is entirely anecdotally, did witness quite a bit of haggling over the taxi rates. So you might want to have options of similar providers, which is code here obviously for things like Uber and Bolt, which both operate in the area. And with these providers, you can always just use them. If you don't like using them directly, you can always use them to get a quote and have a fair version of the price, which you can use to try and make the taxi price realistic. We did hear a negotiation between 25 euros for Uber versus 50 euros for a taxi. So It's just a point to be aware of, but you can walk if you don't mind a little bit of hills. In the teams, again, where to eat, we've got some suggestions for you, but you have to find them in the teams or in the practical info. In addition to the Old Town, where you pay a little bit of extra money to eat inside a UNESCO World Heritage Site, there are some options outside and along the road between the venue and the Old Town. So there are places along the road as well, which aren't then with the extra premium of paying to eat in the Old Town. Just in terms then, on the next slide, we talk about a little bit about who's coming. So Ilse gave you the headlines, but I always like repeating these ones. We're about 230 in all. We've got representatives from 70 programs coming, 71 on paper officially at the minute. I'm always happy to count 2 people for one program, 1 person for 2 programs, where they look after more. So I'm sure that number will come up a little bit more in terms of the people who represent several programs on the MA level, etc. We've got 22 countries represented, which is members and non-member states. So we're very happy to have some of our external cooperation partners coming to the event as well. We also bring almost the entire Interreg team. So in addition to the formal agenda, which we're talking about today, we're also there. So you can track us down as you can and as you may during the coffee breaks if you've got extra questions. And we're very happy to be joined by DG Regio. They're coming in extra numbers. Extra permissions were sought up the food chain in Regio in order to enable them to send more people. So we're very, very happy to have 4 people each from D1, D2. So we've got Jean-Pierre Hulkin coming, Oana Simona, as well as Carolina, Estelle, Olivier, Marie-Alaine, and Yolanta. So we're very, very happy to have such a large gathering of DG Regio. They sent their apologies for this morning meeting. They've got another meeting on post-27 preps, which we're very happy they're attending, because they might have some more insights for us when we get to Dubrovnik. But unfortunately, obviously, as Ilse mentioned, nothing here today in terms of post-27, just logistics. And speaking of today and logistics and content, the other half of the session, I now hand over to Phil, who will walk us through the sessions.
Yeah, thanks very much, Kevin. Yeah, nice to see everyone this morning. So now we're going to hear from the people leading the sessions. This is to whet your appetite for the things that we'll be discussing in Dubrovnik, and it will also help you to choose which sessions you are most interested in attending if you haven't made your selection yet. So starting on the morning of day 1, actually, there's no choice on the morning of day 1. There is a plenary for everyone after the welcome coffee, and then this is followed by a session that will be held in plenary on performance-based approaches. Even though there is no choice regarding this, we still want to hear. I'm still going to invite Greg to tell us a bit about what we can expect from this session. So Greg, just very quickly tell us what we can expect from the performance-based approaches session on day 1 morning.
Thanks. So very briefly, what as performance-based approaches, they are more and more present in our everyday discussions. So still very many of you, it's like still like a pretty new term. So we plan for you, it's like a crash course, like a 90 minutes crash course for the beginners on the basis elementary knowledge of the on the PBA. Apart from that, we also want to give you some kind of our recommendations of further read, where if for those of you who are interested, where to search for information, books, reports, etc. Then also to brief you on the current progress of works of the performance working group that some of you might heard of, also from the last year's harvesting event, and maybe some reports that you have came across on our webpage. And last but not least, to give you like a heads up on what's coming by the end of the this year, and also the plans for 2026 for the performance working group, for the that we closely work together with the indicators working group, and how you can also contribute to these works. So these all 4 big elements we'll try to cover in this 90 minutes in the morning of day 1. Thank you.
Brilliant, thank you, Greg. And now moving to the afternoon of day 1. So this is where you will have to make your first choice. because we'll be dividing the topic of programming in post-27 between design on the one hand and roles and responsibilities. And to tell us a bit more about the session on design, it is Monica. So Monica, please take the mic.
Thank you very much, Phil. Good morning. Hello, everybody. I will present one of the sessions, design path, and in our session, we will focus on programming from two angles. Process, what, when, who, and how to organize programming, and namely, what are the challenges and which aspects are essential to successful program preparation. And intervention logic. First, insights into its building blocks and the new regulation, and how to move from the needs assessment to specific measures, and as well a short exchange on what reforms could mean in the Interreg context. But we know that there will be changes, but also strong continuity. However, regulations are still in the negotiation process and far from being final. So most likely, we won't be able to provide answers to all the questions you might have, but we would like to provide a space and time for you to discuss and exchange on different points of view concerning the programming. Thus, we will identify what worked well together in this period and is relevant and worth to apply in the new period. We will get better together familiar with the new framework by exchanging with peers, and we will surface what is unclear, challenging, or maybe needs rethinking. That's it from our side. Thank you and see you soon in Dubrovnik.
Thank you, Monica. And to tell us now about the roles and responsibility aspects of programming in post-27, I believe this is Ilse.
Yes, thanks, Phil. I'm stepping in for the implementation team, which will welcome you in Dubrovnik. But the session as such will very much focus on the roles and responsibilities. And it will look at the key program bodies, managing authorities, monitoring committees, joint secretariats, national authorities, but also control and audit aspects when we look into post-27. So during this session, the programs and participants will really explore how the new regulatory requirements, including stronger focus on the partnership principle, will then affect the governance of the programs throughout the entire life cycle of program implementation. The discussions will focus on decision-making, management, verification, and payments, but also audits, communication, and visibility. And during the session is built around short inputs from the Commission colleagues, from the program colleagues, also then discussions in smaller groups, and joint reflection. All together, then the participants will look into kind of what could be these potential changes, what lessons from the current period can guide the preparatory process, and how to prepare for the years to come. So all of this we'll expect you in the session dedicated to roles and responsibilities. Thanks, Phil.
Yep, no, thank you, Ilse. And then these sessions on programming post-27 will be followed by a plenary, which will conclude day one. There will be some social activities after that, but we will hear more about those later. Now we will continue looking at the choices now in the morning of day two. And as you see, we have more choices here, so harder decisions. And we're going to hear from Mercedes, who will tell us about the session called New Waters Ahead. Mercedes, please.
Thank you, Phil. Let's see if I am convincing. Well, we were using sailing metaphor. So I would like to ask you, what if Interreg could sail further? Not by building new ships, but by navigating better together. This session we will explore how synergies and capitalization can truly strengthen Interreg's impact in post-27. Together we'll start by setting our compass, looking at what programs have already achieved and the lessons learned from the harvesting report. And also we will check the new article 7.5 of the NRP. How can we interpret this kind of article for synergies? Then after that, we will have a lively World Café journey. We'll move across 3 different discussions, 3 different corners to reflect on the responsibilities, who has the responsibility to work in synergies and to work and improve capitalization, identify incentives, financial and not financial incentives, their programming choices, and maybe other fresh ideas that could come during the session. All in all, to make synergies and capitalization part of our everyday Interreg practice. So our invitation to you is simple. Take 90 minutes from Dubrovnik's time as a creative voyage. Let's exchange, connect, and co-create the messages that will steer Interreg's fleet confidently into the new waters ahead. That's it. I think you were completely, I was convincing. I guess that you were completely shocked.
Thank you very much. Well, so Marco Mercedes has put down the gauntlet there. So now let's hear from you what we can expect from the Interreg specific objectives 2 and 3 session.
Okay, thank you, Phil and Mercedes. You put some pressure on me now. Okay, for ISOs, the MFF proposal for 2834 introduced 3 Interreg-specific objectives, expanding from the current 2. And this session focuses on 2 of these 3 objectives. So on ISO 2, on safer and more secure Europe, and then further on to new ISO 3, on more resilient regions bordering Russia, Belarus, and Ukraine. And these both within the context where safety and security concerns are getting increasing attention, and the question of resilience is becoming more and more important, or even in core position. So we will consider, of course, the content of these, but then also how to best build complementarities, utilize synergies with other policy areas when working with ISO 2 and ISO 3. We also tackle the general concept of resilience in Interreg context. So welcome to join the discussion and looking forward to seeing you there in Dubrovnik. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much, Marco. And now we're going to invite Sanna to tell us about exploring the known and unknown aspects of finances.
Thank you. In Riga, we dreamt about financial wonderland, and in Dubrovnik, it's time to reflect to reality with the new proposals. In this short financial session, we will focus on 3 topics, and each of the participants chooses which one of these topics they want to work with. One of the topics is the first glimpse to financial flows. Another is practicalities around financial horizontal rules, such as double financing, beneficial owners, state aid, to name but a few. And the third one is continuity of current simplification and harmonization measures, like simplified cost options, for example. So with these 3 topics, we will explore what's in, what's not, and what's still necessary to get for a successful implementation. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Sanna. And now to make your choice even harder, I'm not sure if it's Kevin or Ebba who is going to tell us about Interreg visibility going beyond the regulations. So who wants to come forward now?
I think it's going to be me.
Great. Thanks, Ebba.
Thank you. Last week, a member of the European Parliament told me, Interreg does wonderful things, but we don't talk about it. It's as if it's happening outside the debate, the media debates, the debate on the streets. She's on the Budgets Committee, and she's a real Interreg supporter. But she said to me, If you want me to succeed in explaining why Interreg matters, you must show me significant impact that wouldn't have happened without it. And that really stuck with me because that's exactly what our session on Interreg visibility is all about. We look at how communication is changing as we move beyond 2027 and how we can make Interreg's impact clearer, louder, and more consistent across Europe. So I invite you to join us, share your ideas, and let's work together on the Interreg story. And if I pique your interest, keep an eye on interreg.eu because the full interview with this MEP will be published there soon. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Eva. So then after the coffee break, there will be the final round of choices. Before we go on to them, just to remind you that the way that you make your choices is you have received an email from Kevin shortly after your registration was confirmed, and this includes a link to where you choose your options. So yeah, for those of you who didn't spot that coming through, look through your emails for an email from Kevin, and you have the link there in order to choose between the sessions that we've heard from today. So
it's also in the chat, Phil. So for everybody who's taking part in the seminar, you have the direct link in the chat.
Okay, even simpler, Thank you, Valeria. So now onto the final round of choices. So this will be the sessions just before lunch on day 2, and I believe we have Nico who is going to tell us about the external cooperation session.
Indeed, thank you, Phil. Good morning, everyone. So this session about external cooperation, the point is to highlight where we are with external cooperation programs, those working with EU external borders, and so most directly EPA, Next, and outermost regions, but also anybody who's interested in this external cooperation dimension in the new Interreg context, and with the major novelty of the implications under the Global Europe umbrella. So this session will have several discussion rounds, first to bring everybody up to speed with the latest regulation proposals, and for you to share concerns, issues, or gaps that you may have identified from this new framework, and also what policy implications and complementarities provide for Interreg. What's the role in this new dimension? And also specifically to for you to highlight concrete needs to support your programming in working with the external cooperation board with the cooperation regions across borders of the EU. That's it.
Brilliant. Thank you very much, Nico. And now Kelly is going to tell us about the session on territoriality and Interreg specific objective 1.
Thank you, Phil, and good morning, everyone. So this session will focus on territorial instruments and how place-based approaches can be better supported in the future programming period. We will look at ISO 1, PO5, CLLD, P2P, and a few more abbreviations. Sorry about that. And there's, of course, a strong governance element in that session. So we'll start with a short introduction on where territoriality and governance stand in the current MMF discussions, as well as a few updates on ongoing initiatives related to ISO 1, citizen engagement, and territorial impact. And then we'll move to the core of the session, articulated around 3 corners. One on governance actions under ISO 1, another one on citizen engagement and civil participation, and a third one on cooperation for all regions and territorial impact. And what we aim to do for these sessions, like in other sessions presented by the colleagues just before me, is to collect practical needs, ideas, insight from you, so to feed the ongoing post-27 reflection process and for better implementation and delivery of these territorial-related instruments and abbreviation in the future. So if you want to know more, I'll see you in Dubrovnik with the colleagues and in that specific session. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Kelly. And now Raphael will tell us about his session, Data Burden or Obesity in Burden or Beastie, or Bestie
Yeah,
or
no
Beastie?
worries.
So maybe Rafa, you can also explain the title as well as the session when you're explaining this one.
Thanks, Phil. That's a bit of a tongue twister as well. So let's see if I'll manage. So, well, good morning, everyone. First of all, I'd like to invite you to this session. So it's called Data, Beastie or Bestie. So I managed on the 5th of November. So at this session, we'll explore the new data requirements for 2834. So the point of the name is that it can feel a bit like a beast when we first meet them, but in Dubrovnik we want to introduce you to the good news. So we'll look at how tools developed by Interreg can actually become your besties, your best friends in tackling these challenges. And I'm referring to HIT, GEMS, Keep.eu, Index, and Interreg.eu. Pardon. So the point is to talk about these tools and how they can make our work easier, easing administrative tasks, supporting reporting, strengthening visibility, comparability, and fraud prevention. Most importantly, we want to hear from you, what you need, what works, and what doesn't, so that we can shape the future of data sharing together. So if data has ever felt like a burden, this is the space to turn it into an ally. So we count on you for that. And well, thank you all. Thank you, Phil. I hope to see you all in Dubrovnik.
Thank you very much, Raphael. And now to the final choice for this second round of options before the lunch on day 2. It's Biber telling about her session, Soft Skills in Interreg.
Thanks a lot, Phil, and hello to all. I would start the introduction of this session saying last but not least. So we all know that cooperation doesn't happen on its own, or it doesn't happen well because of systems and structures. Every day in Interreg, we work across borders, languages, cultures, organizations, topics, even different age groups. And it is very inspiring, and that's why we work for and with Interreg, but it also brings a certain complexity into this work. And even with the very best rules and tools established, still things may slip, misunderstandings may happen, and we are a bit challenged in our situations, in our daily work. And in this session on soft skills in Interreg, together with you, we wish to explore which skills we already master and which are those skills that we could grow stronger as individuals, as professionals, as teammates, and also as Interreg community. We do believe that cooperation is as strong as the people making it happen. And this is why and where Linda, Satu, Jon, Nebo, and I will be super happy if you join us for this discussion. Thanks a lot.
Thank you very much, Biber. So there we have all of the choices that you have to make on the morning of day 2. These sessions will then be followed by a lunch break. But then after that, there are still some very interesting sessions. So lunch will be followed by something that will be called the Grand Tour. Now, I'm not going to tell you very much about the Grand Tour. We want to leave this as a bit of a surprise. But what I can say is this will be an opportunity for you to talk about the topics that you felt weren't sufficiently covered during the preceding day and a half, or topics that you feel like you really want to go deeper into. So this will be an opportunity for you to set the agenda. Exactly how, we will tell you more in Dubrovnik, but yeah, definitely something worth staying for after lunch. And then this will be followed by a final plenary before we end the IKEV on day 2. So that is it from me. And who am I returning back to? I am turning back to
me.
Kevin, I believe.
It's back to Kevin, yes. So it's over to me to introduce you to some of the networking and things around the fair. And as we do that, just a point of reassurance, if you're overwhelmed by options, please have a look. Do vote ahead of lunchtime tomorrow, because this is when we will print your name badges. but we will obviously be welcoming you in Dubrovnik and we'll be giving you the navigation that you need to get from one session to the other. So please, for now, just make your choices and worry about the rest. Don't worry about the rest even. We'll obviously help you through. And for those staying in the hotel, I'm sure you'll find the Princess Suite very quickly. But for everybody else, from reception, we'll guide you along the way as well. And once you're in, so to speak, we promise not to let you go and to give you lots of entertaining sessions, plenary and parallel, through the event. But if you have questions, we will have a Q&A at the end, but we also have the Microsoft Teams space, and we'll come on to that in just a second. I wanted just to cover off the other agenda bits first. On the next slide, we talk about the networking activity. Details of this will be absolutely finally, promise you, confirmed on the day, but we have enough information to give you the approximate plan, which is that the activity will start at 7 p.m. in the Old Town. Exactly where, we're keeping a little bit of a secret, because once we tell you where it is, you'll know exactly what it is. We will be doing bus transfers for you to get you from the hotel, the venue hotel, that is, to the Old Town. That will start at 6 o'clock in reception. We'll explain how that works on the time. One of the challenges of Dubrovnik being a beautiful old city and a UNESCO heritage site is that you can't have 4 buses sat outside half of it. So we will have to have some sort of staggered and structured way of doing this, which relies on your cooperation. So we'll give you the detail of that shortly, but you always have the option to self-transfer if you don't want to hang around with us. The one thing, obviously, the hotel have said is please don't put 50 people on the local bus network because it's designed to cope with 50 people in total and will destroy the local network. There's food, there's drink, and a cultural experience. We'll explain more of this on the time, but you're choosing when you opt into the sessions, also whether you'd like to come to the social networking activity or not. So please, I would encourage you to. It's lots of fun. On day 2, there is no formal agenda. So we're inviting you to self-organize. You can use Teams to connect with colleagues. You can find other people to do things with. If you've not been to Dubrovnik before, the city walking tours are highly recommended by almost everybody. And you can choose between the actual historical one, or if you're a particular Game of Thrones fan, there is even a guided Game of Thrones tour, because obviously King's Landing was one of the or Dubrovnik was one of the settings for King's Landing. So if you're very familiar with the series, you'll know exactly what that is. If you haven't watched the series, you'll be much more interested, I'm sure, in the official proper historical tour, rather than the here's the 5 things you can see in the film, in the TV series even, sorry. But that is self-organized, and we can connect you. Guest services in the hotel can connect you as well if you're staying in the hotel, which is over half of the audience staying in the hotel. So guest services are also there. They can connect you with registered providers who offer very nice tours, and you can even make it more exciting by doing it as a challenge if you can get a group of you together. And again, Teams is the place to self-organize that if you're interested. Away from kind of social activities in terms of the functions on the day and ahead of the day, obviously the Microsoft Teams space is the place to be. I share the link now in the chat if you've not managed to navigate in there yet. It's there for you to help you with the exchange and communication. There's an Ask the Organizer section where you can ask us anything up to and including on the day. And just kind of as an illustration of why it's more practical to have the team, at least for us, if you got the first email from me, you would have got a bad link. And it was very easy for us to resolve the issue for everybody in the team. Individual emails still happened, but they took a little bit longer. So just a plea from us as well, because it is obviously a large conference. If you're experiencing a problem, chances are other people are as well, and it helps us to understand and fix that on a group level. So please do join the team and navigate in there if you haven't already. You can fill out the form and you can fill out and you can view the list without, but it's much nicer inside. So please join us. And just kind of a warning for you, there will be some additional questions from some of the session leaders to kind of finally map the session or to work out exactly what they want to do. We're finalizing that internally and we'll share them with you, and we'll provide a list of everything inside the teams, but we're trying to avoid systems where you get maybe 3 or 4 emails from us in the same day asking you for additional input. So we're just trying to work out how we're going to manage that best, but some more questions might follow. That's ahead of the day. And now if we look at on the day, you'll register from 8:30 in the Princess Suites, and we'll guide you from reception to the Princess Suites if you can't find them already yourself in advance. And that registration area is also the conference support area. So at any point in the day, if you've fallen out of the sessions, if you're confused about where you are or where you're supposed to be, that's the place to go. And between myself, Sheila, Akos, and my colleagues, Alessandra and Pablo, in addition to almost anybody else from Interact, you'll find us there helping you to navigate back into the sessions and working out where you're supposed to be. It is a one-stop shop, and we know we need it because sometimes you'll be in the Princess Suites, in which case it's very easy, and sometimes you'll be in the Coral area, which is about a 3-4 minute walk away. It's very close, but it does involve walking outside along a promenade and inside again. So we'll help you with that navigation point, but if you don't know where you're supposed to be or you're unsure of anything, conference support operating on both days is the place to go in the same area that you'll register on the Tuesday morning. And that is the end of the information we've got for you. So we can stop the screen share. If anybody has any questions or if there's any logistical points that we've not covered, we're very happy to take questions. We've run extremely well to time, which we're very happy with because I'm sure everybody has got a lot of other priorities as well, other than the IKF. But the IKF is obviously such a big event. It does need just a little bit of time to make sure we're all orientated. But if you have any questions, you're invited to raise your hand. If we've already overwhelmed you with all the information you could possibly need, that's wonderful. We'll happily release you earlier to go back, but please don't forget to navigate into the lists that I've shared in the chat to make your session selections, because we do need that information by lunchtime tomorrow, in which case we'll provide you with a personalized name badge, which is very exciting because you'll be able to see your sessions on the day. And if you aren't able to navigate using those links, do just let us know and we can help you through that system. Questions coming in the chat in terms of when will the registration be available? It's available until lunchtime tomorrow. After this point, you just won't have a personalized name badge. I'd love to have a better incentive than that, but for us, it's really important for scheduling because the rooms are different sizes. So we need to know how many spaces are needed in which room. So please do make your session choices already if you can. The recording will be available later if you want to listen to the presentations again. And then the video will be shared later today. So it's just a matter of how long it takes Microsoft servers to render the video and then export it. So we'll happily share that as soon as it's ready. And appreciating it is quite a tight deadline to turn that around. We've got one hand up, Evelina.
Yes, good morning. Good morning, and thanks so much for your time and attention. I'm not sure I understood how the parallel sessions on performance approach will work. Will be divided in several groups, or I didn't understand very well how these sessions will work.
So there won't be any parallel sessions for performance-based approaches. We will be, at that session, will be everyone all together.
Okay. Thank you very much.
And then Michaela has asked a question in the chat about the location of the sessions on the name badges. Unfortunately, at the minute, we can't promise it because we've got too many people who haven't registered for sessions. So we're a bit worried about assigning the rooms before we know where the majority of people, we're about 50, 60 people short. And obviously there's a slight chance that 60 people pick the same session and then we've got to switch the rooms around and then you've got bad information on your name badge. So we promise at least the session and lots of agendas throughout the venue so you can work out where your session's being hosted. In an ideal world, in the next 24 hours, we get up to 200 people signed up for sessions and we're more confident about printing that information. But at the minute, it's just got a little bit too much of a risk factor for us to promise it. So I really hope this is the last incentive for people to actually pick their sessions, in which case you'll have all the information you could need. But yeah, that's the risk we have at the minute, is dividing the sessions and then finding 30 people want to go into the same session and completely changing the numbers. So that's the slight risk we've got at the minute, and that's the reason we're not promising locations on name badges, just session names. But you'll be overwhelmed by places you can see the agenda on the day, so you won't miss that information, I'm sure.
Kevin, there is another question in the Teams chat about the difficulty accessing team grouping, and sometimes your emails also get lost in the spam systems. So how do we make sure everyone has the information and not to leave anyone out of the information bubble? Perfect.
Take emails first. If you haven't had already 2 emails from me, one advertising the webinar, a second one reminds you of the webinar. I think most of you did because you made it here. There is a way of asking your IT to whitelist our IT. Unfortunately, it's an action on your end to say that this is a valid sender. Obviously, we can act, and we do act responsibly with emails, but because we're sending newsletters, it does get marked often that we're a mass mailing server. So despite doing all the best things we can to make sure we're verified and validated, we still have an issue. But unfortunately, the only solution for that is on the receiver side of the email, not the sender. And we have also had this issue internally. Some of our servers are extremely protective of our mailboxes, and they reject my messages, even to my colleagues. But the actions there have been taken to whitelist, so we know the whitelisting solution does work. In terms of the teams, you're not excluded if you can't find that, apart from audience to audience exchange. Unfortunately, we can't get around the audience to audience exchange another way. Everything else you should be able to do through the direct links we share. So we'll share emails with all the direct links, so everybody's got them. But if you want anything else on top of that, it is Teams. We're very happy to set out in writing why it's important to have navigation for Teams if you need to challenge your hosting institution or to share that information with IT providers for what you're missing out on by not having. But we previously used the Hoover tool, and we also had the same issue with a number of programs as well. The countries had actually blocked it because it was a US-based system. Microsoft is also largely a US-based system, but we have European servers for our data and GDPR protection in place. Mikis is here. If I say anything else, I'm sure he'll interrupt me to make sure we get it legally correct. But we can't, I'm afraid, do anything other than that and give you the information to challenge whoever's blocking you. If it's a technical issue with Teams, there's tech support at interact.eu. I'll type the email in chat in a second. You can always use that as well for support. Or if you message me, I'm very happy to forward on to Mikis and connect you as well if there's anything you're missing directly in terms of our services.
In case, just to add, in case of really trouble and you can't access the session registration link, I think email, exceptionally, as Kevin mentioned, email still works. So let us know via email as well. Not all 90 people, but the ones that really have issues.
Exactly. I think we've answered everything, or at least we've answered everything you can think to ask us now. This gives me a nice chance to plug the Ask the Organisers thread in Teams, or as Ilse said, if you're really struggling with Teams, you can write us an individual email. Obviously, if I get 200 emails tomorrow, I'm not going to be able to answer them all in one day, even with the help of my working group. So please, if you can use Teams, if you can't, if you've got particular questions, you can get in touch with us as well. And on that note, I think I need to thank, of course, my wonderful colleagues in my working group, Phil, Valeria, Ilza, my wonderful colleagues as session leaders who all presented their sessions, and the ones that came in support. We look forward to seeing you all in Dubrovnik soon. I promise to work on my pronunciation of Dubrovnik, because I'm hearing how I say it is completely different from how other colleagues do, so I need to work on my pronunciation clearly. Other than that, thank you very much for your time today, and we look forward to seeing you in less than 2 weeks.